Talking 3 and Out with Charles Asher III. I'm Adam Deal. We welcome you back. Happy Monday. Happy National Championship Day to you as the Oregon Ducks going to take on Ohio State tonight. Should be wonderful. It'll be our first crowning of a true champion, is what they say, Charles.
As they keep telling us.
Buy into that, right. So 3 and Out here. Let's move on, though. It's APS title championship game from the pit, and let's talk about the Cleveland Storm. Fantastic tournament, fantastic performance, though, by Ryan Jones. He goes for 41. He's one of those guys, Charles, that once he's on fire, just you got to double team him. You got to get the ball out of his hands because he's going to hit everything. He only had 7 points at halftime and carried this Cleveland high school team to its first APS Metro Championship win over the Cibola Cougars. I mean, that was a big-time performance.
Not taking anything away from Cleveland. Cibola played a great game plan when you break it down. Jones, they held him in check that first half or whatnot. He's a hot player. Once he started making a couple shots, you can see it in his eyes. The light switch comes on, and he will make any type of shot, a spin move, pull-up jumper, three-pointer, pump fake, jab step, whatever you want, he can give it to you. He was taking it right to Cunningham, and it didn't help that Cunningham had probably his worst game offensively this season in the championship game.
Again, Cunningham was in foul trouble, much like he was against Albuquerque High School in the quarterfinals. Christian Cunningham finishes, I believe, with 9 points. That's unofficial. But, yeah, you're right. He only had 1 field goal. He had a tough time. Marcus Williams, who's only 6'5", maybe, really disturbed him on the inside and the low block. But as did Christian Cunningham with Marcus Williams. They kind of canceled each other out offensively. That's why Malik Liddell was able to have a big game for the Cougars. But their freshman, Cameron Dixon, finishes with 22 points. He was lighting it up from the outside. He even had some pull-up jumpers. Confidence, this young freshman in the pit, like it was nothing. But in the end, it all comes back to Ryan Jones. But I like what you said, Charles, is the way Ryan Jones was scoring. He's scoring from the three-point line. He was driving. He was pulling up 15-footers. He was going straight at big, lengthy Christian Cunningham into his chest and getting three-point plays. It was an all-around performance for Ryan Jones.
Yeah, hard to match up with a guy who has different facets of his game. You mentioned the Bryce and the Cullens. He's good. I wouldn't put him up there yet. He has a whole season to get there. But those guys had it. You have multiple ways to score. Even the John Dawsons, these are guys that if they weren't making three-pointers, they were getting to the line. They were, if the layup wasn't falling, they were figuring out a way on the defensive end to get steals, to get transition buckets. Good players find ways to score, and Ryan Jones is a good player.
Hats off to UNM and APS coordinating this and having it at the pit. I think it's good for all the teams that make it to the pit because they get that one, I guess, practice game, if you will, before the quarterfinals. If they're lucky enough to make it to the quarterfinals of the state, they have that under their belt. And also, I just think it was a good atmosphere. There was a good crowd. Cibola student section and Cleveland student section going at it. It was fun for high school hoops.
Yeah,
no
great
doubt
to
about
utilize a facility such as the pit, Y-Spy Arena, whatever you want to call it. I like to see a lot more events taking place there, especially basketball, because we love going to the pit. Any opportunity we get to watch local hoops, and that was a great championship. Hats off to Cibola because they did everything right. They just couldn't get a couple shots to fall when they needed. And then Ryan Jones explodes for 35 straight points or whatnot. You can't prepare for that.
Well, let's talk about the rest of this tournament here on 3 and Out now and break it all down. It's the entire APS Metro tourney recap. And your Bulldogs is what I want to talk about first, Charles, is because they do lose a tight one to Cibola in the quarterfinals, but they bounce back with 2 nice wins. They beat Hope Christian. We know that's a great win. And then they go on to beat their rival Valley in the next round. You said it was close to being a blowout. Valley kind of fought their way back into the game, but it was a great bounce back from these Bulldogs, proving they are for real. 11-1, nothing to be ashamed of right now in the season.
Yeah, I spoke to a couple coaches. When you lose, when you're riding such a high season and you lose, and you have to play then the next night or a night from where you don't have time to game plan and kind of get your mental toughness where you want it to be, mentally tough teams bounce back and win and get whatever you need to do, you get it done. They bounced back. Hope Christian, they got up 23-10 over Albuquerque High. It was looking like the ship was about to sink. They ride it. They win this game. They run away with it, matter of fact, in the end. And then they had a great game against Valley. But on the adverse of that, the reverse of this, you have West Mesa, where you have a West Mesa team riding high at them, winning games. They go into the tournament, I believe, 9-1, and they leave the game losing 3 of their last 4. Coach Schreier has to be wondering what's going on with that team because these are the type of games you're going to be playing for district. So it would, as a coach, it worries you a little bit that your team can't bounce back and find a way to get a win.
As hot as can be, West Mesa was before this APS Metro tournament. Ever since their loss to Atrisco, they've lost 3 straight now. You're right, they're going the wrong direction. I think District 1 of 6A is definitely on the up right now. As Rio Rancho, they lose to Cibola in that semifinal, but they had a great bounce-back win as they smash Atrisco Heritage in the pit. Brady Patterson was huge. Juan Hurt, who couldn't hit anything in the semifinals, was big. Zach Garrettson, Parnell, the whole deal, they were all good. And there you go. 1, 2, 3 in the APS Metro was all from District 1 of 6A. And we've been talking a lot about District 5 of 6A this year, but maybe it's time to start leaning more towards that District 1 just because of the results.
Well, and they deserve it. And when you look at the teams that really had great performances, the only team that's a little different than the Rio Ranchos, the Albuquerque High, even the Cleveland, is Cibola. Cibola, we were waiting to see if their guards can actually play. You know they can go inside. I truly believe, and I've been telling you this, if your guards can play, if you have good guards, and your bigs can rebound just enough and do enough in the inside, you can win games. That's what happened to Rio Rancho against Cibola. They couldn't make a shot, but they couldn't rebound. So now you can't make a shot, you can't rebound, and you have a team like Cibola that's hot with Cameron Dixon and Carpenter playing well. It's a recipe for
Last
disaster.
team to talk about is the 10-3 Volcano Vista Hawks. They lose the very first game against Valley and then win 3 straight. They always say, no matter how you can do it, as long as you could win 3 in the APS Metro tournament, you've done a good job.
That's the goal.
So Volcano Vista still kind of flying under the radar. They're 10-3, though they didn't place well in the tournament because they got sent to the losers bracket immediately. But it's all kind of lining up, and we now know what teams are for real and what teams are just hitting their peak of talent. I think one of those teams is Cibola. I think their guards have grown up. We've talked about it, and I think the Cougars have a real good chance at making some noise. The problem is that district is rough. They're going to play Rio Rancho twice. They're going to play Cleveland twice. I think they're all kind of beat each other up, but I think the winner of this district is going to be more prepared for state than anybody else.
Yeah, you can make an argument that District 1, that's a good argument, and District 5, they're just going to beat up on each other. The problem is, and I said it during break, you don't want to get that 3, 4, 5 seed because that's going to be a battle going through that state tournament. You want to get that first or second seed, and I think Hobbs is in the driver's seat for that one.
Well, speaking of Hobbs, can they still stay at #1 in the Max Preps rankings, or did Cleveland jump them after that APS Metro win? We'll find out. Max Preps rankings coming up next here on uSports Central.